morning, we get to explore our connection with the divine, with God, through what we refer to as God qualities, also known as attributes or characteristics of God. And while we may have heard before that we all have these qualities, the ones we're really interested in knowing about are the ones in each one of us, aren't they? In you, in him, in her, and in me. This is personal, isn't it? We might be accepting of the fact that someone else has the creative gene or the joyful DNA, but where's yours? Where's mine? Where does the love characteristic go when I'm not feeling particularly loving? Once we learn to accept ourselves as we are, to love the essence of our God self, we may start to see the qualities that we didn't recognize before, these God qualities. Love is taught to be the greatest of these, or attributes, most often associated as the name of God. God is love. But what other qualities, characteristics, or attributes do we use to describe the divine intelligence and power? And as children of the divine, to describe ourselves. Do we have all the qualities, or just some of them? And when do they show up in our lives? Those questions will get us started on our focus this morning as we determine what our, yours and mine, God qualities are. Let's take a look at characteristics. Ernest Holmes wrote in the Science of Mind textbook that life must contain two fundamental characteristics: an infinite spirit operating through an infinite and immutable law, meaning absolute and unchanging law. He said that love points the way and law makes the way possible. When we apply that to our own lives, this person, you and me, it means that we have an infinite spirit, eternal life energy, a divine soul spark that is part of the oneness of God. And that each one of us, everyone, operates and uses a powerful, reliable law, the law of mind, of spirit, that allows us to tap into the all-knowing, all-creation through our thoughts. And according to our beliefs. We all have access and use of this law, whether we call it that or not. It's the law we get to use just like we use the law of gravity, the way everyone uses and has used gravity before we knew what to call it. The law of mind is an invisible, enduring, unlimited force, an unchanging power that takes the impress of our thoughts and beliefs to create what we most often focus upon. What you focus on grows, right? So where is your attention these days? What has your focus? What thoughts and words are you repeating most often in your life? It's important to pay attention, to be aware and stay conscious, so you can create more good in your life than the not so good. Let love point the way, and law will make the way possible. Next, as we talk about attributes, Holmes provides a bit more explanation about this when he writes that law is an attribute of God. God did not make law. It coexists with the eternal. Infinite law and the infinite intelligence are but two sides of the infinite unity. So with this as our definition, and attributes being something that we did not make, it's logical to list attributes such as freedom, happiness, activity, and power, and the desire to manifest the highest truth in our life. We didn't make them. and yet they coexist as part of us. These attributes live within us and are infinite. Other attributes include self-choice and free will. Again, none of which we create, but are always available for our implementation. How many times a day do you utilize free will and self-choice? Probably all the time, right? It's up to us to discover how to use these attributes for the highest and best good in our lives. And these aren't gifts that you can give away to others. And you can't take them away from anyone either. You might encourage the use of such attributes, yet everyone is already endowed with them. Just like we're provided with the universal medium of mind, the way God operates as law. This is a method of operation to co-create in this life. This God soup of existence in which we're all moving and get stirred up from time to time. Our oneness with the divine allows us to tap into that infinite intelligence. When we pay attention to it, when we're conscious, and to create in a focused, laser-pointed way. But instead of focusing on our weak points, instead of berating ourselves over our mistakes, we need to recognize and focus on using our God qualities and attributes to succeed in our endeavors. Turn your irritations into assets, your challenges into wins, like this young boy was able to do. It's a story of a 10-year-old boy who decided to study judo, despite the fact that he had lost his left arm in a car accident. Devastating car accident. The boy began lessons with an old Japanese judo master. The boy was doing well. So he couldn't understand why, after 3 months of training, the master had only taught him one move. "Sensei," the boy finally said, "shouldn't I be learning more moves?" "This is the only move you know, but this is the only move you'll ever need to know," the sensei replied. Not quite understanding, but believing in his teacher, the boy kept training. After several months, the sensei took the boy to his first tournament. Surprising himself, the boy easily won his first 2 matches. The third match proved to be a bit more difficult, but after some time, his opponent became impatient and charged him, and the boy deftly used his one move to win the match. Still amazed by his success, the boy was now in the finals. This time, his opponent was bigger, stronger, and more experienced. For a while, the boy appeared to be overmatched, and concerned about this, that the boy might get hurt, the referee called a timeout. He was about to stop the match when the sensei intervened. "No," the sensei insisted. "Let him continue." The match resumed, and the boy's opponent made a critical mistake. He dropped his guard. Instantly, the boy used his one move to pin him. The boy had won the match and the tournament. He was the champion. On the way home, the boy and the sensei reviewed every move in each and every match. Then the boy summoned the courage to ask what was really on his mind. "Sensei, how did I win the tournament with only one move?" "You won for 2 reasons," the sensei answered. "First, you've almost mastered one of the most difficult throws in judo. And second, the only defense for that move is for your opponent to grab your left arm." The boy's biggest weakness had become his biggest strength. We have that same opportunity every day to look at whatever we perceive to be a weakness and to turn it into a strength, a win. We bring our free will and our self-choice. We freely choose our intentions. We bring our activity and love and happiness backed by the power of belief. Belief in what is before us, belief in our oneness with God, in our connection with His universal mind and the way love works. It's good to have awareness and belief in other important attributes as well, each one that we possess, namely spirit, soul, and body, which is the triune nature of our being, another way of looking at our unity with God. Spirit refers to first cause or conscious mind. It is the allness of God, knowing nothing outside itself, nothing different from itself. Spirit refers to the absolute essence of all that is, the I am nature of us. Spirit is life, truth, love, being, cause and effect. Science of Mind teaches that spirit is the only power in the universe that knows itself. It is the all of everything that exists and is continually creating out of itself into itself because it's all that is. It goes in more directions, more creations, ever evolving into moreness. Again, we didn't create the spirit piece of us. We didn't have to bargain for it. It's just part of who we are. The great thing about this attribute of spirit is that the more we're aware of and connected to the divine and the power, the greater we too can express as us. The second part of the Trinity, and another term we use to describe the law, is soul, capital S. It's the universal medium through which spirit operates. In Christianity, it's often referred to as the Holy Ghost. This is the invisible stuff that takes our intentions, our repeated thoughts and powerful words, and says, yes, I'll create that for you. This soul stuff or law is always present, unlimited, all-powerful, and very obliging. It will create your worries just as easily as it creates your deepest prayers and dreams. This law, this soul power, treats everyone the same. It's impersonal, and it works in the same way for everyone. We're using the law all the time, whether you're truly conscious of it or not. It's better to be conscious, believe me. Because law, soul stuff, never rests, never goes on vacation, never stops creating, just like the divine intelligence, the spirit part. It's never off, always on. The third part of the great trinity of creation of life is body. The resulting part, the form of what happens when thoughts are things, thoughts become things. When spirit and soul are utilized or accessed through our ideas and our words towards some definite purpose of creation. Everything, visible in our world or invisible in other realms, everything is the body of God. It's all God. So when Jesus said that in my Father's house are many mansions, he meant that there are many planes of creation. For example, an idea is invisible, right? Spirit, soul parts of creation are invisible. But the body, the form or manifestation of that idea, becomes physical, comes into form. The soul stuff is visible, the form, the body, is visible. Different planes of creation. Body, whether this human body, this earth suit, or the cars in the parking lot, or the trees and the plants, or the stars in the sky, all are considered as part of the body of God. in this equation. And while spirit and soul are constant and absolute, never changing what they are, body, on the other hand, is the only part of this equation, this universal plan, that is always in a state of change. It can't help changing. How many times a day do you change your mind about something? Always changing. Think about how your physical body has changed since the day you were born. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? And yet, through all of those transformations, the essence of who you are, the consciousness of you, has managed to travel from one likeness to another and be you, right? The physical body is in a continual state of change, and yet the I amness of who you are, the God center of who you are, remains the same. Yes, you evolve, hopefully. You continue to gather experiences and wisdom and memories and knowledge, for sure. But your you-ness is always you, a child of God, a unique expression of God. Here's a quick example. When you think of a drop of the ocean, it contains all the attributes of the whole ocean. Everything inherent in that large body of water is contained in that one drop, and yet that drop is not the whole ocean, right? So when we talk about us, my qualities of God, your qualities of God, just like the drop of ocean, we contain all the attributes and qualities of God as part of our inherent nature. And yet we are not God, but individualized expressions of God. God sparks from the great light of creation. We're referring to those things that are nature of life, including aliveness, free will, to make choices, to direct life and law of creation for those things that you want to attract into your world. We're referring to qualities such as intelligence, order, and production. The intelligence in you and as God knows what to do, and there is an order about it. Think of the seasons. They follow in succession, don't they? Always one after the other. The planets rotate in a specific order. If they didn't, we might have exploding planets and none of us would be here. The blood in our vein flows in a specific order, always. And our bodies and many other species in this world mature and age in a natural order and progression, don't we? Raymond Charles Barker said that which you call disorder is merely order appearing in a way that you do not like. Disorder is a negative idea coming to the surface in an orderly way. Let me say that again. Disorder is a negative idea coming to the surface in an orderly way. He also wrote that you are not a human mind. You are an individual using a divine mind humanly. There is the whole difference. Here's something else to think about. Dr. Barker said, the universe is an unlimited system, and there is no reason why you, as an individual, are not an unlimited individual. You may say, the great spiritual minds have been able to do phenomena that I cannot do. I have made statements like that. For example, that I'm not able to read auras, or interpret people's dreams, or other types of capabilities. Dr. Barker said, usually we pick out the exaggerated examples. We have of great spiritual personalities, and we say, these people could do it, but I can't. Unconsciously, you believe that these people have a special quality that you do not have. The truth is, all limitation is self-limitation. Ow. The things that keep you and me from expressing our God qualities to the highest level are within our own subjective minds. Those limiting thoughts can be dissipated and changed, reversed, and dissolved. If we can come to the conclusion that we cannot do something, couldn't we also come to the conclusion that we can do something? Absolutely. So why not start now? How much time and energy do we spend on becoming something besides what we say we are? We're often in a state of continual preparation to be something other than we are today. We're planning for retirement. We're going on vacation someday. We're going to read that book or get that degree soon. I'm as guilty of this as the next person. I like planning. The sad thing is when we spend too much energy and time on a future vision of ourselves that we miss who we are in the present moment. We don't recognize the wonderful, talented spiritual expressions living in this physical world right now, doing all these amazing things in life. So why not declare who you are or what you are doing? Claim for yourself right here, right now. And I'm going to share an example with you. I started, again, taking piano lessons. Rather than saying I'm learning to play the piano and keep postponing my good, keep pushing that creative talent away from me, keep delaying my success and the results of today's efforts out into the distant future somewhere, I can simply declare, I play the piano. Now, I know perfectly well, as does my teacher, that I'm at a very beginner level, yet I do play the instrument. I play the piano. So wouldn't it be much more empowering to say that, to just declare that? I can feel my psyche and my finger muscles responding better. It feels really good. So from now on, I affirm, I play the piano. You and I have, as part of our qualities and attributes, as part of our inherent nature, we have all the illumination, inspiration, and realization. We have within us all the vision, intuition, and revelation that we're willing to embrace and utilize through our self-knowing mind and our unity with the one mind. We get to use our creative imagination through faith to co-create whatever we desire. Whether it be love, truth, beauty, abundance, joy, music. The attributes of God are eternal and unlimited. Where do you want to begin? What do you want to do with the qualities you possess? And you possess all of them. Holmes tells us that spiritual substance is all around us, waiting to be formed. The good news is, you're never going to run out of all those attributes. Never lose those God qualities. Your unity with the oneness, with the divine, in spirit, means that these qualities and attributes are always available, coming into expression according to your individual embodiment. Well, you get to choose how much of whatever to let out of your being into the world. They are eternal and cannot change. They are part of the essence, your essence, for all eternity. They're timeless, changeless. How cool is that? It begins with you. you recognize that there is so much more about you than you might have realized. The divine essence of you is just that. Divine. You are divine. So for the love of yourself, your human self and your God self, embrace the many glorious and wonderful aspects of your divinity, of the preciousness that is you. And through this discovery of self, may you also embrace all the blessings, love, and light of the infinite presence of Spirit within you. Will the practitioners please come forward?